It's Thursday, February 5th, 2026, and we are tracking what could be the most dangerous Arctic blast of the winter season so far. A fast-moving clipper system is about to bring additional snow to the Northeast and Great Lakes, and right behind it, a surge of polar vortex air that will send wind chills plummeting to potentially life-threatening levels. We're talking about wind chills approaching 25 degrees below zero in some areas, with National Weather Service offices keeping a close eye on issuing extreme cold warnings, something rarely seen in the heavily populated Northeast corridor. From Buffalo to Boston, from Pittsburgh to Portland, millions of people are about to experience what meteorologists are calling a potentially historic cold outbreak. So, in today's update, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to know about this dangerous weather setup that's about to unfold across the eastern third of the country. This Arctic blast comes as many areas downwind of the Great Lakes and across the Northeast are already experiencing a significant winter surplus, currently sitting at 110 to 200% of their seasonal average snowfall. Cities like Syracuse, New York, and Burlington, Vermont are dealing with snow depths that haven't been seen in years. We're essentially going to be adding insult to injury with this next system. Let me walk you through exactly what's happening and when you need to be most concerned, because the timing of this event is absolutely critical for your safety and travel plans. Starting with our current setup, we have an active weather pattern continuing across the eastern United States as an area of low pressure is moving across the northern tier and into the Great Lakes before tracking eastward into New England. This clipper system originated from Canada and is projected to sweep across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast on Friday, with lingering snowfall expected through Saturday. The storm's track will take it from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan early Friday morning, across southern Ontario by midday Friday, and into northern New York and Vermont by Friday evening. By Saturday morning, the system will be spinning off the coast of Maine, but its effects will continue to be felt across the region. Now, this might not sound like a major storm system on the surface, but here's why it matters. This system is moving through ahead of what meteorologists are calling the season's most intense polar air mass. The jet stream configuration is setting up in a way that will allow this Arctic air to plunge much farther south than we typically see. Powerful northwest winds will usher in air associated with the polar vortex to densely populated metro areas from Boston to Philadelphia, and even as far south as Richmond, Virginia, and Raleigh, North Carolina. The timing is critical here because the snow will fall first, creating hazardous travel conditions, and then temperatures will absolutely crash behind it, making any recovery efforts extremely difficult. So let's talk about the snow first, and then we'll get into the dangerous cold that follows. The Great Lakes and Northeast will see the impacts of this fast-moving clipper system starting Friday, with the most significant activity expected Friday night into Saturday. Snow will trek out of Canada and spread across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast, with portions of the Interstate 95 corridor likely seeing snow during what will become the season's coldest Arctic blast yet. For snow totals, we're looking at New York City potentially seeing an additional 1 to 3 inches of snow, while cities like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Albany, New York will likely see up to an inch. Boston and coastal Massachusetts may see some ocean enhancement, potentially picking up 3 to 5 inches of snow through Saturday afternoon. The higher snow totals are expected in the elevated terrain of West Virginia, where winter storm watches have been issued for mountainous areas that could see 5 to 8 inches of snow. Winter weather alerts are also issued in parts of Virginia and Pennsylvania. But here's what makes this event particularly concerning. This snowfall will impact regions that are already experiencing unprecedented winter conditions. Areas downwind of the Great Lakes and much of the Northeast are currently at 110 to 200% of their seasonal average snowfall. We're talking about areas that still have over a foot of snow on the ground from previous storms, and now we're adding more on top of it. The National Weather Service has coined the term snowcrete for the dense ice-packed snow from January that is not melting quickly in the Northeast. New snow on top of this snowcrete can lead to dangerous roof loads and treacherous sidewalks. So even though this clipper system won't produce massive snowfall amounts, it's the cumulative effect that's concerning. Now let's talk about what happens after the snow. And this is where things get really dangerous. Behind this snow system, we're going to see the arrival of what could be record-breaking Arctic air. Powerful northwest winds will usher in air associated with the polar vortex, and we're talking about winds that could gust 30 to 40 mph across much of the Northeast. This could cause visibility issues due to blowing snow, making travel extremely hazardous. But the bigger story is the temperature drop that's coming, and this is where we need to break down the specifics by region. Multiple daily record low maximums are within the realm of possibility from the northern mid-Atlantic to New England, and a few record overnight lows may be set. In Boston, we're looking at high temperatures on Sunday that may not even reach 10 degrees, with overnight lows potentially dropping to 5 below zero. New York City could see highs struggling to reach the mid-teens, with overnight lows around 2 to 5 degrees above zero. Philadelphia may see highs only in the low 20s, which would be 25 to 30 degrees below average for this time of year. Moving inland, cities like Albany and Syracuse could see high temperatures on Sunday that fail to reach 0 degrees, with overnight lows potentially hitting 15 to 20 below zero. Pittsburgh could experience highs of only 5 to 10 degrees, with overnight lows dropping to 5 below zero or colder. Even cities farther south like Washington, D.C. and Baltimore could see high temperatures struggle to reach 25 degrees, with overnight lows dropping into the single digits. Wind chills are where this becomes life-threatening, and we need to talk about this seriously. In northern New England, wind chills could drop to 35 to 40 degrees below zero. The White Mountains of New Hampshire and the Green Mountains of Vermont could see wind chills approaching 45 degrees below zero. Across upstate New York, wind chills of 30 to 35 below zero are likely. Even in the major metropolitan areas, wind chills will be dangerously cold. Boston could see wind chills of 20 to 25 below zero. New York City could experience wind chills of 15 to 20 below zero, and Philadelphia might see wind chills of 10 to 15 below zero. The National Weather Service offices are keeping a close eye on this weather setup and could issue extreme cold warnings, something rarely seen in the Northeast. There could also be a few snow squalls in upstate New York, western Pennsylvania, and interior New England. In areas prone to snow squalls, visibility can drop rapidly alongside quick accumulations of several inches. Drivers need to be extremely careful on the roads if planning to travel late Friday or early Saturday. The combination of fresh snow, blowing snow, and rapidly falling temperatures will create extremely hazardous travel conditions. Now, there is some good news in this forecast, and that's the timing of the recovery. A moderating trend will commence starting Monday, and temperatures should generally be close to normal by Wednesday as this Arctic air mass finally retreats. But we're looking at several days of dangerous conditions, particularly this weekend. The pattern we're seeing is being driven by what meteorologists call a displaced polar vortex. This has opened the floodgates for Arctic air to spill deep into the United States. When this Arctic air meets with atmospheric disturbances, it creates perfect conditions for these clipper systems to develop and intensify as they track across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. What makes this weekend's Arctic blast particularly notable is its intensity and how far south the coldest air will penetrate. We could see areas like Pittsburgh experiencing temperatures that are 35 to 40 degrees below average. Cities that normally don't see this level of extreme cold will be dealing with potentially record-breaking conditions. For preparation, if you're in the path of this Arctic blast, you need to take action now, and I want to be very specific about what that means. Check your heating systems and ensure you have backup power options if possible. If you have a generator, make sure it's properly ventilated and never operate it inside your home or garage. Test your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. Stock up on essentials before Friday because travel conditions will deteriorate rapidly. This means having at least 3 days' worth of food, water, medications, and supplies for both you and your pets. Charge all electronic devices and consider having backup batteries or power banks available. Avoid unnecessary travel this weekend, especially Saturday and Sunday when the coldest conditions arrive. If you must travel, Keep winter emergency kits in your vehicles that include blankets, extra food and water, a flashlight, first aid supplies, jumper cables, ice scraper, shovel, and extra warm clothing. Make sure someone knows your travel plans and expected arrival times. Protect your pipes from freezing by keeping faucets slightly dripping, opening cabinet doors under sinks to allow warm air circulation, and knowing where your main water shutoff valve is located. If you lose power during this event, have alternative heating sources ready, but remember that space heaters should be kept at least 3 feet away from anything that can burn, and never use outdoor heating equipment indoors. Check on neighbors, especially elderly residents who may be more vulnerable to extreme cold. Many communities will be opening warming shelters, so know the locations of these facilities in your area. Bring pets inside. These are not conditions for animals to be outdoors for extended periods. And remember that salt used on roads can be harmful to pets' paws. The infrastructure impacts from this Arctic blast could be significant. Power companies across the region are already preparing for potential outages as the combination of high winds and extreme cold puts stress on electrical systems. Utility crews are being positioned strategically, but repair work will be extremely challenging in these conditions. Natural gas demand will spike as heating systems work overtime, potentially straining supply systems. Water utilities are taking precautions to prevent pipes from freezing, but customers should also do their part. Transportation systems will face major challenges, with airports likely experiencing flight delays and cancellations due to equipment limitations in extreme cold. Amtrak and other rail services may face delays as metal contracts in cold temperatures, affecting track operations. Road treatments will be less effective in extreme cold, and road crews will need to use different materials and more frequent applications. The good news is that unlike some recent winter events, this Arctic blast will be relatively short-lived. While the cold will be intense, it should start moderating by early next week. However, the immediate concern is getting through this weekend safely. The combination of additional snow followed by extreme cold creates a dangerous 1-2 punch for the Northeast and Great Lakes regions. Looking ahead beyond this weekend, the weather pattern shows signs of becoming more active during the second half of February, and this is something we need to discuss because it affects longer-term planning. Long-range models suggest that while temperatures may moderate slightly compared to what we're about to experience, the atmosphere will remain cold enough for continued winter weather. The Climate Prediction Center's extended outlook shows continued below-normal temperatures for much of the eastern United States through the rest of February and into early March. In fact, for cities like Washington, D.C., February is historically the snowiest month of the year, and 2026 is trending to follow that tradition. The European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts and the American GFS model are both showing signals for additional storm systems during the third week of February. These could bring more significant snow events to the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, potentially affecting areas that will already be dealing with well above normal snow cover from recent storms. The current pattern is being influenced by several factors working together. We have a weakening La Niña pattern in the Pacific, which typically leads to more variable weather patterns across North America. There's also what meteorologists call a displaced polar vortex, where the normally coherent circulation around the North Pole has become distorted and elongated. This displacement allows Arctic air to spill much farther south than normal. The North Atlantic Oscillation is also in a negative phase, which tends to promote more cold air outbreaks in the eastern United States. When you combine all these factors, you get perfect conditions for repeated Arctic outbreaks and active storm development. While January featured some historic winter storms across the eastern United States, including the catastrophic ice storm that affected the South and the major nor'easter that brought record snow totals to the Carolinas, February is shaping up to continue this relentless active pattern. The jet stream configuration remains highly amplified, meaning we'll continue to see these dramatic temperature swings between the western and eastern United States. So while we'll get a temporary break from the extreme cold after this weekend, with temperatures moderating by Wednesday of next week, winter is far from over. We're likely to see continued clipper systems tracking across the Great Lakes and Northeast through the rest of February, with the potential for some larger, more impactful storm systems as well. The pattern we're in is similar to what we experienced during some of the more notorious winters in recent decades, when Arctic air repeatedly surged south while storm systems tracked along the temperature boundaries. The key message for this weekend is simple: take this Arctic blast seriously. These are potentially life-threatening conditions, especially when you factor in the wind chill. Limit time outdoors, cover exposed skin if you must go outside, and take steps to prevent frozen pipes. If you lose power, know where your nearest warming shelter is located. This is not the time to take chances with the weather. And as always, thank you for watching today's update. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. This dangerous Arctic blast will continue developing through Friday, and I'll have updates as conditions unfold. Keep checking back for the latest information as this system moves through the region. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.